Hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'll be showing you how to render faster and better in Blender. So let's just get straight into it. So first of all, you want to go into the settings right here, and here's a trick for cycles. So when you go over here, if you have a GPU, you can take the CPU and put it to GPU compute if you have a compatible GPU. And how you would do this is that you would go to over here to edit, preferences, if you haven't set this up yet, of course. And you would go all the way to system, and you change this from none to CUDA. And what that does is that if you have a compatible GPU, it would use your CUDA cores to render the scene much faster and more effectively. So once you've done that, you'd go over here and click Save Preferences, or if it's on Autosave, then you're fine. So X that out. Then a second trick to rendering faster in cycles is you would go to Light Paths, and you would change this down from a total of 12, typically down to a total of 8. And what this does is that it changes the amount of bounces around in the scene. So, let's just say if you have a light here, right, and it bounces off the object, it would bounce off over here and maybe hit a wall or a plane. And that determines how much that one light, or path trace of light, gets bounced around, since Cycles is a ray tracing engine. And if you have that total right here lower, it will have less time. It will take less time to compute, and it will render faster. I typically put this at 8, but I wouldn't really recommend going below 6 if you're going to set that. If you're really on the turbo for time. Well, anyway, going on to performance, the tile size. Now, if you're rendering with CPU, it's going to be much better if you typically have a tile size of 16 by 16. And what that does is that you're, depending on how many cores your CPU has, it divides it into smaller bits for it to process. Now, if you're rendering just with a GPU, I typically go with a higher tile size, by 512 by 512. And GPUs typically like this faster. But if you're running with a combination of the two, the best I found is that in my testing, you'd have a combination of 32 by 32 tiles. What this is going to do is that it's like an in-between between this. It's like an in-between for the GPU and CPU. So you'll get much faster rendering. And another trick that you can do is that if you have running on Blender 2.81, the beta, you can go into compositing and set up so you go over here and click nodes, and you'd set up the denoiser. So what the new denoiser does is that it helps you get less samples, or have to use less samples than what you have to. So this is much better than the old denoising tool that you used to have in Blender. So that because the old denoiser used to take time, add extra time to your scene, and it would blur out some of the details. Except this is a new Intel denoiser, so it doesn't really do. It keeps the sharpness of the image better and the render overall. So to set this up, you would go over here, press Shift A, and you go click on denoise. You would import this in. You would place that right there, and you go over here to this little printer icon, or sorry, not the printer icon, the image icon, and you go to denoising data. So you have all this extra data to do, and then you would take the noisy image and plug it into the image, the denoising normal and plug it into the normal, and then denoising albedo and plug it into the albedo. And you take the composite node and drag it over here, and take the image and plug it into the image. So what we just did is a simple denoise of your render. So what this is going to do is that you're going to have to, you can use less samples while keeping higher quality. Because what it does is that it predicts, the denoise engine predicts where these are going to be, and it just gets rid of the noise. It does what it says, basically. A really good example of how the denoiser works is this one of my scenes right here. So let's go ahead and go over here to compositing, and take that off the denoise node and connect that directly to the compositor. So we get rid of the factor of denoise completely. It's a very high sample count right now because this scene has a lot of metallic objects. So let's go ahead and render the image. Okay, let's just stop it right there. As you can see, even when the image isn't fully finished or anything, because even with this very high sample count of 800, we still get a lot of noise in the image. But when we render the image completely with the compositing node, with the denoise node, sorry, we get way less noise in the image. As you can see, we just connect that up and re-render the image. As you can see, this denoised version of the image has way less noise on the edges and the door itself. So that's how the denoise node can really improve your image while decreasing render times and decreasing samples. Okay, so let's just say that you have your scene and you're ready to render. So what you do is you would go over here to output, select an output file and name your scene. You go from PNG to FFmpeg video, go to encoding, changes from Matscroll, I don't even know how to say that. Go to MPEG-4, go to from medium quality to high quality, good, to real time, and you're good. And you're done. And then you just go over here and click render image or render animation. So if you guys like the video, hit that like button, and if you want to, you can subscribe to me also. And I'll see you guys in the next video.